After 20 years of building together through dust, deadlines, and damn good ideas, Pace and Adam invite you to join them for honest conversations about the home building world. Welcome to Build Connected, where experience meets insight, powered by Diamond Home Restoration.
Hello, welcome back to Build Connected. I'm Pace.
And I'm Adam. What up?
What up is still going. We're throwing that around the job site. I think it's going to stick. On the other hand, the felt up, that was HR called me and said that's a no-go.
Dude, you cannot put that on the podcast. Come on. Felt up? Did you really just say that?
Do you remember when it's on last week's podcast?
Unbelievable.
You said the inside one has felt on the back, and I went, felt up.
Oh, no, I missed that. That's just another version of me not listening to you, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, maybe it stays.
Well, we'll see. Could be some deep editing, or that just might be the way it rolls. All right, here we are again. It's episode 18, and it's exciting. Anything to report this week after a week of school, or?
Whew, no, things are good. Kids are happy, which is, that'll change, I'm sure. But for now, things are copacetic, so they say.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I guess that's good news. Man, we've been busy, so I don't feel like I have a personal life at this point. So let's jump into it.
All right, let's do it. We're on topic number 1, products. This is a product that everybody should have one of these. This is your homeowner special little episode of.
So is this going to be like the very popular, what's it called? I'm sorry, the red magnet.
Oh yeah, kind of in that same category as every homeowner should have one of these.
Yeah, every homeowner should have it. Throw it in their tool bucket, their junk drawer, what have you. Here you go.
Yeah. So the topic is little rotor rooter tools that you should have in your bucket o' tools. And we're going to go through different levels, different stages of which one is better or what it does, what makes sense, when to use it, that sort of thing. So the subject is rotor rootering. You got a clog in your drain. Maybe you're like me. You got 3 women in your house and the drains get completely blocked all the time. Pace, you've got cats, 1 woman. Maybe you don't have quite the same issues that I have. I don't know how much you're washing your cats in the bathtub. That's a story in for itself. But so you got your tub, it's backed up, your shower's backed up, and you go to round 1, which is maybe you reach for that Drano. Yeah, it's not a great product. It works on small clogs, I suppose, but when that fails, time to go to stage 2. And stage 2 is a 18-inch or so long piece of plastic that has little barbs on it. And that's actually works the best for me and my quick go-to. I find myself using that and really does the job of pulling out any blocks. But sometimes that 18-inch long barbed tool can't quite get down far enough. So now you want to move to option 3. And option 1 and 2, I mean, Drano, do you need to keep that in the house? Maybe you keep it, but you definitely want that 18-inch long barb. Always good to have that within reach. So the third thing that you want to have is a rotor rooter hand machine. So this is not something that you plug in. It's all mechanical, and it looks like a large rotor rooter machine, but kind of miniature. So if you can picture a spool with a hand winding tool on the back of that spool, and that spool is like some sort of wire material, and all you do is you feed that into your drain, and when you hit the block, there's a little lock button on it, and you lock it, and then you crank that puppy and spin it, and then you just keep going until you clear it. And for the most part, that should do the trick. But if that fails, then maybe it's time to call your plumber. But at the very least, have that 18-inch little tool in your shed. That the little rotor rooter machine is an inexpensive thing to have. I mean, it's expensive to call your rotor rooter guy, anywhere from probably minimum $300 just to start. And it goes up from there. So anyway, it's kind of a tip of the week, tool of the week kind of thing that that everybody should have. It's basic, but if I'm a homeowner and I'm not in the know of what to do, now you know.
All right, let's back it up to the cats. Obviously, I still have the cats. My old house down in Pacifica, we had a skunk issue. So I felt like once a month, one of my cats was getting sprayed. So they were getting lots of baths in that period of our lives. Not so much anymore. But that little plastic barb tool, I mean, I think I used that thing, um, for Sarah's hair in the shower once every 3 months. I got it. It's got to be something like that. And then, I've got that little mini roto rooter thing, and it just in a emergency type situation, it can save you. I mean, we've been in our house 4 years now up in Petaluma, and I've only used it once, but it's good to have it there.
Yeah,
So
you can reach what, 10, 15 feet with that little guy. Something like
yeah,
that.
no doubt.
Yeah,
Whether it's your kitchen sink or to shower or something, yeah, it's a must have. I
there you
agree.
go.
All right. I'm gonna veer off this week and talk about something that's kind of contract related. It ties into last week's talk of like a fixed price or a fixed bid. Um, but it's on the edge of like a contract talk, which in the future we'll talk about multiple times, just how important a contract is to our type of work. But contract documents is today's subject. Contract documents are the plans, I think first and foremost, and then there are any supporting things that come from a designer, an engineer. It can be individual details from a designer or from an architect on, say, some built-ins, or it could be a detail from an engineer that's come later, an SK, as we call them, um, for like a little piece of the foundation. It could be like color palettes from a designer. It's this whole host of documentation that we do our pricing from. And when you're doing a fixed bid, these items are the backbone of what we're talking about. It's what it allows us to reference something if we need to make a change. So let's say that we've got a very simple foundation around the perimeter of the house and that gets updated. We want to be able to point to a set of plans that have a date on them, and be able to reference that addition or that version of the plans and say, okay, this is what we priced originally. This is what we're doing now, and therefore here's the change. So that sort of referencing of an accepted resource, uh, yeah, it's the basis for our pricing, and it's also the basis for any change orders that we might do along the way. Any thoughts on that, Adam? Any whatever any types of documents that I've missed?
No, no, I think like you said, it's important to have that stuff so that we can create our fixed estimates and take note of existing documents. So when changes are made, we can use that as a reference. I mean, that's key to what we do.
Yeah, yesterday you and I we're on one of our projects where we're doing those large grade beams. We've talked about it. There's the final section of our grade beam. It's about an 8 foot section. It ties back into the house. There was an existing grade beam that nobody knew about, buried. Maybe it was 6 inches under the soil. We were digging. We ran into a giant block, and we sort of went around the edges and found a buried piece of concrete. And so we've now got to go back to the engineer, and we've got to say, hey, these are the conditions we found in the field. How do we want to proceed? Give us a detail for tying into that concrete, or tell us that we've got to remove that old concrete and start fresh. It's a great example of being able to reference what was gonna be there versus what we actually have to do.
It's something that's important that just kind of piggybacks what you're saying. It's important that your contractor advocates for themselves and for you when having a conversation with the structural engineer. Sometimes if you just tell the engineer what's existing, he's going to come back with whatever it is he wants, and it could be really expensive for the homeowner. So in this situation, we wanted to advocate for all parties, in the sense of a saving money for the homeowner, and keeping things out of the dump, right? So our recommendation to the engineer was, hey, let's see if we can leave this hunk of concrete in place, because it's going to take 2 days to remove, and then it's got to go to the dump. And we have a great relationship with our structural engineer, and he's open to hearing some things that we would like to do. And sometimes he's got no problem shutting us down and saying, hey, that doesn't work. But by us coming up with a plan before we talk to the engineer, sometimes he can get on board with that.
Yeah. Tying into this, a few weeks ago we had talked about like the bubble when there's a revision in a set of plans. But a lesson I know that was hard learned for us is being very, very diligent about when there's an update to plans, making sure the dating on the plans gets updated. It's the paper trail. So like, you might start off, there'll be version one. Let's say that came out in January. As we move through our pre-construction, a few months later, there might be some edits or revisions to those drawings. And now we'd be at version 1.1, say, and there'd be a date on it. That date, that updating of when the plans were generated, we can mesh that with our proposed pricing that we've submitted. So being able to track and have a date on when things change, it's so important. And it can be easy to miss that. So all of a sudden, oh, the plans are different, but the date on it is the same. There's a discrepancy that it's just not really easy to track. So being really diligent about looking at the revision and the date stamp on a set of plans, I think really ties into your pricing, your bid, your change orders. Those are all so related. Um, yeah. So I wanted to kind of talk about that, but in the future we'll get into a lot of things contract related. I think as a contractor, when you start off, you don't really realize the importance. And, I remember we had a one pager for a time, that's developed into a pretty substantial contract. So there'll be lots of things to sort of unpack within our contract and things that safeguard everybody involved in the process. Anyway, that was today. There we go.
Nice. Well, you kind of tied in some of your stuff into something interesting on a job, which was that hunk of concrete we talked about. But I'm gonna dabble into the last topic as well. Something interesting on a project. Now, this one relates back to kind of the products I was talking about, kind of the Roto-Rooter products. But the idea to talk about this stuff actually just stemmed from a friend of mine who called us up and said, "Hey, Adam, our shower is leaking. We got water coming in through the ceiling in our kitchen. Can you come out and take a look?" And always happy to help a friend out whenever I can. So we went over there, and sure enough, their drain in their shower was completely blocked up, and the shower pan was filling with water. We were able to recreate that scenario by filling the shower pan with water, and we determined that there is a break in the pan that's a couple inches high that really only shows a leak if there were a clog in the drain. So let's get back to clogs and your Roto-Rooter tools. This was actually a moment where we pulled out the small little handheld Roto-Rooter machine, and we were able to clear that blockage, and they're good to go. But this is about maintenance on your homes, right? And that's really what I want to talk about. You really want to check your drains more often than you think. People don't check their drains or clear them just for the heck of it until they have a problem. But you know, depending on how many people you live with and if they're females or not, all the girls that I live with, my wife and my two girls, a lot of hair ends up going down these drains, and so every 6 months, I actually use that 18-inch long tool that I said I have that's got the barbs, and I just go to all of my shower and tub drains and I just clear them. And I'll tell you what, when I clear them, I'm pulling out like a squirrel. So it's something everybody should do, and that goes for your sinks too. You should just stick something in there and clear those out. And while we're talking about maintenance, the other big one that people forget are things like your filter for your furnace. People always kind of let these go by the wayside. And whatever you have, whether it's a tankless water heater, those should be serviced annually. And people generally don't touch those. I mean, I'm one of those people. I used to have a tankless in my old place, and to tell you the truth, I should have maintained it more and had my plumber come out once a year to just inspect it. But really, just a couple of these simple maintenance things can really avoid headaches down the road, and just stay on top of your stuff. I mean, there's a long list of things, but look, drains, filters are pretty basic, water heaters. Stay on top of your maintenance, and you'll be happy later on.
There is a pretty long list. A couple that I want to throw in there. If you've got a wood burning fireplace, a chimney, you know, set a routine, clean your chimney. House is burned down because of it. Dryer vents.
Big one.
Number one cause of house fires, dryer vents.
Just clean mine out.
Yep. Just get that little tool. Any hardware store you walk in, they've got your dryer vent cleaner. That's good for other things as well. But great tool to have.
One thing about dryers, though, in my house, I have a booster fan for my dryer because my dryer duct run is over 10 feet. And in that situation, you need what's called a booster fan in line. And those need to be cleaned out just as frequently.
Yeah. Um, gutters. Gutters, another important one. Nobody wants to clean the gutters. They got to be cleaned. Door tracks. You got a slide in door, getting in there and cleaning out that door track. Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, I've been in a jam, had to use a little olive oil once.
We have a client that's got like a submerged stairway. You come down some stairs and there's like a recessed area in front of the front door and there's a drain there. That thing clogs up all the time if you're not diligent. So yeah, outside drains, just like the drains you're talking about. There's a lot of maintenance items, and it's good when you buy a home to make a list, make a checklist. There's some stuff that, might be every few months. There's some stuff that's once a year, and then there's other things that are maybe every 5 years. You talked about tankless water heaters, just regular old standard water heaters. Theoretically, you should be draining your water heater every year. It prevents that buildup of rust on the bottom, extends the life of the unit. I have never drained my water heater, and it's like 22 years old.
Yeah, I bet that's
I'm
some
on
good
borrowed
sediment.
time, baby. Living on the edge. Good
Real
stuff.
nice.
All right. Well, that was a fun week. Hopefully we don't get calls from HR about all the, women have long hair and they're the cause of most problems. I think we'll be okay.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you're,
Anyway, yeah. Thanks for joining us. I'm Pace.
and I'm Adam.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Build Connected. For more stories, insights, and ideas, visit diamondhomerestoration.com or find us on Instagram and LinkedIn. We'll be back next week. We hope you will too.